Ladies and gentlemen, we want you to stand and we want you to make some noise.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's go racing here at Knoxville.
Only the best go three abreast.
It is show time at Williams Grove Speedway.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, here at Eldora Speedway, it's showtime!
You've got a for a breath. Often imitated, never duplicated. The greatest show on dirt, the world of outlaws.
It's time to sit back, relax, and enjoy because, ladies and gentlemen, it's showtime!
Set to do battle for 30 laps. The green flag is waving.
Hello again, it's Wing Nation talking sprint cars, our favorite time of the week. We are so glad that you have joined us. Hey, by the way, if you like what we're doing on Wing Nation, like, subscribe, rate, review, do all of those fun things, and share with everybody if you like what you hear here on Wing Nation. I'm Steve Post, joined by Erin Evernham. Hello, Erin. How are you?
I'm good. Yourself?
Fabulous. Just fantastic. Coming off a King's Royal weekend. A lot of conversation, that's for sure. Let's have more conversation, maybe a little bit about the King's Royal, but also what's going on in the life of the 2008 King's Royal champion, Daryn Pittman, who joins us. Hello, Daryn. How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys doing? Thanks for having me on. It's been a little while.
Yeah, it's been a while. It really is. It's so fabulous, Daryn, when I look at because there's been times where it's like, well, if Daryn stops racing, we won't get to talk to him again. And then we have Daryn's not stopped racing, and we have all of these things going on in the world. And it seems like we always get a chance to chat, and always glad to do it. Daryn, a lot of ground I want to cover, but really kind of want to get into you and your racing. You get back behind the wheel this weekend in the Kreitz number 69. What's your sense? What's your feel here as you get ready to head back to Williams Grove this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, sense of excitement. Honestly, just it's been a while since I've been in a car. So looking forward to getting back busy racing. Always exciting to get back in, behind and get to drive for Dawn and work with Davey and their whole team. We ran a few races at the beginning of the year, and, things just, it was kind of just nothing really went our way for a while. Obviously, we were really good at Vegas and, had the fuel issue. And then really, we just had some motor issues, the next couple of weeks after that between Texas and then going in for the Spring Nationals at Williams Grove. So pretty disappointing finishes, honestly, for us is especially as good as we started out at Vegas. And so, just had a break and ready to get back in and get going. Obviously they had a really, good finish to the week at Eldora, and Williams Grove is obviously always one of their, best tracks. And so, obviously with the ultimate goal is to obviously try to compete for a, Williams Grove National Open win. It's just good to always be able to go in and make some laps there and see where we stack up.
Daryn, you mentioned you hadn't been in the car for a while. What is that like for someone who raced full time for so long and now you race sporadically and everyone else is out there racing every weekend? What is that like? Is there any extra preparation? Is there any extra jitters? Does it feel weird to not be in the car as often as so many others?
Not really. I mean, they do a great job of just making it really seems pretty seamless as far as the transition. And when the car is as good as, that car is 99% of the time, it just makes it easy to get in and go out there. And again, I think the thing to me that has always just sort of separated itself with that car versus anything else is it handles well enough that you don't feel like you're going that fast. And so there is obviously a transition period, I think, or always has been for me, that it takes a little while to feel like you kind of get up to speed. But when the car handles well and you don't feel like you're fighting it, obviously it takes a lot of that speed sensation out. And so, I think that helps guys like me to be able to just come in and hopefully pick up, where we left off, maybe more towards the end of last year versus this year. But, obviously we've been fast when we ran. We just, again, had motor problems the last two times that I've drove the car.
Daryn, I always find the 69K program fascinating. And we talked a lot when Lance was driving that car that, they would go to Port Royal for some $8,000 to win show or something like that. And they do good or they do bad or anything, but it was all focused on the Tuscarora 50. The same with Williams Grove. They just seem very deliberate and analytical in the way they approach things. You've already talked about you're going there for the Summer Nationals. You'd take a Summer Nationals win, but man, that National Open is what this is all about. What's that approach like? Is that kind of where you guys are at with just kind of build, and hopefully it all culminates in October?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I can't speak for them, but for me, 100%. I mean, my main focus and where I'm at in my career is I want to be able to try to compete for a national open win, and that's the car to do it. And to race every outlaw show at Williams Grove, I think is gives us the best chance to do that. So, we didn't really have a set schedule for what races I was definitely going to run. Our schedule's pretty fluid as far as changing, and obviously they've got different drivers running it. But the only thing that was set in concrete, or that we definitely made plans for, was to run every outlaw show at Williams Grove, and again, that's all leading up to the race in October. So for me, just to be able to get back in the car, get comfortable, and put ourselves in the best position so that we've got the most laps and the most amount of information, and they know what I need to feel comfortable, and I feel like they already do. But it'll just be good to be able to get back there and hopefully pick up where we've been as far as the last few times we've been there.
Daryn, you talk about how well that car handles, and it doesn't seem like it matters who's in the car. Ryan Smith, yourself, Christopher Bell, that car has so much speed and it handles so well. I mean, obviously, if there is a secret special ingredient, you're not going to spill it with us, but what makes that car so consistent and so fast? Is it, attention to detail? Is it, there just seems like there's something, I don't know, magical about that car right now.
Wish I knew. I mean, honestly, people ask me all the time, like, what are they doing? And the truth is, I don't even ask. I don't feel entitled enough to ask any questions. Truthfully, I'm just happy that I get to drive it. They've worked on that package to work for them at the tracks they go to for so many years that I don't even feel like I would deserve. I don't know if they'd answer me or not, and I won't know because I just don't ask what they're doing. And at the end of the day, it's an entire package. I mean, they could tell me what bars they're running, and that's a piece of the puzzle. I mean, that's a piece of the ingredients. I mean, that doesn't help you, solve all of it. So, the car is pretty unique and it handles very well. But I mean, let's not forget that Christopher Bell is an amazing talent. Ryan Smith is a great race car driver. So, obviously when you have a car that good, they're able to select drivers that obviously they know fit their program well. And I think they've done a great job of that. For a team to have three different drivers, and for, I guess for all three of us to have been pretty successful in it most of the time we get into it, just shows that obviously I think they're picking, people that fit their program well. And, they're not having to pick from the bottom of the barrel when it comes to picking drivers to go and run their car.
Oh, you're right about that. That's for sure. What's it been like? You spent a lot of time with Mike Hefner racing in Central Pennsylvania, and even before. You've been around Davy Brown. You've competed against Davy Brown. What's it like to have that guy walking into your trailer, or you walking into his trailer? What's that feeling like to know you've got that?
Yeah, it's pretty cool, and honestly, it's fun just to watch them work together. I mean, as far as to see who's making the calls, as far as whether it's Davy or Don, and they work together, so seamless. Like it's just everybody knows what they've got to do, and I don't know who's making all the decisions or who's doing what. I get out and go and put my tear-offs on and try to pay attention to what the racetrack's doing, but it's a lot of fun knowing that you've got two of the smartest minds in Pennsylvania and any across the country that are working on your car, and knowing that they may not hit it perfect every night, but it's going to be really, really close. So I've competed against that car for a lot of years, and I knew how tough it was to beat when, Lance was driving it, and even, when Don was driving it. So it's definitely comforting knowing that you've got some of the smartest guys in sprint car racing working on your car.
Erin, I made a tweet there a couple of years ago. I took a picture of Davy Brown. He had his tape measure out, and I said, everyone's in trouble. Davy broke out the tape measure. It is absolutely amazing what they accomplish and what those old guys do with that race car.
Yeah, those old guys. It is pretty amazing. What has it been like to work with Donnie Kreitz and Davy? I know we've talked about it a little bit before when we've had you on, but such legends and such knowledge and such veterans of our sport. They're like I said, they're legends. What has that been like? I know you've worked with plenty of amazing crew chiefs and teams in the past, but these two just seem so special, certainly in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, absolutely. But, again, it kind of goes back to they're both, I mean, Davey especially is very quiet, or he has been to me, and always enjoy talking to him. But, you definitely take in every word he says because it's normally not a lot. And again, I mean, their focus is on winning, and so there's not a whole lot of chit chat and whatever. Everything is about, what do we got to do to make the car better for that particular night. So it's fun to just kind of watch them interact, and again, just sort of comparing it to other crew chiefs that I've worked for, successful, not successful, and just see about how they methodically go through the night and focus on what that task is. They're not worried about tomorrow or next week or whatever. It's whoever's driving that car that night and what they need to, how they're going to be successful that particular evening. And that's all you can really ask for. And again, they've got a package that I think that, they didn't just come up with it overnight. And obviously they've evolved it when wing rules change or tire rules change, that I'm sure they're not doing the exact same thing that they were 2-3 years ago, but the whole core package is still there, that they just sort of have adapted and made minor tweaks to, and it's taken a long time to, get to a point where I feel like they've got, a pretty dominant race car most nights. And really, I think they've shown over the last year or two, just with the more travel that they've done, that it's not just a Williams Grove or Port Royal setup that they have. Their car's, plenty capable of pretty much going anywhere in the country and being really good.
Yeah, really, truly is. That is for sure. We referenced this right off the top. You're the 2008 Kings Royal champion. We're coming off a wild Kings Royal. Daryn, and I watch part of the races, and I see some of the wrecks, and I just see some of it. And what's your take, Daryn, on what we saw at Kings Royal from a wrecking and an injury standpoint? We got a lot of busted up race car drivers, and you're in the safety business, obviously, with Ultra Shield. What's your assessment? What's your take on what we saw at Eldora this weekend? And actually going even back to Attica, where we had Caleb Henry hurt as well. What's your take on where we're at right now?
Yeah, from a spectator standpoint, from a competitor, you're watching your friends, your peers, people that, I've known for a long time racing. And it was tough to watch. I mean, there's no doubt about it. And I think there's always been a saying, like, there's no easy crashes at Eldora. And that's true. But, man, this year just went to a new level. We've always known that. We know that racing is dangerous. As drivers, we know that risk going into it, but to just see it over and over and over again and watching these crashes, and by far is some of the most violent crashes that we've ever seen. And normally you get maybe one of those a year, but to get 3-4 of these night after night, it was hard to stomach, and I did not even see live. I didn't see it till later, till actually a replay. I didn't watch the night with Tyler Courtney and that crash.
Jesus.
My wife just texted me. I was gone, actually golfing with the men's group from our church, and she just texted me. She's like, "I this is sickening to watch," and she kind of filled me in. So it's hard to watch, and as a manufacturer, you build stuff that people are choosing to use your brands to obviously protect them and keep them safe. And so obviously you don't want to see anybody get hurt, whether or not they're in my stuff or anybody else's or whatever. But man, it was definitely every time that would happen, you would just, obviously just say a prayer that everybody would be okay. And then once you learn that, they were okay or reasonably okay, it's like, okay, like what is their injury? And there's obviously the human aspect of it, that you want to know that they're okay. Then your brain shifts to, they're okay. What is their injury? What happened? You want to make sure they're okay, but obviously within a few hours or even a few days, you don't want to ask them, like, well, what happened? Like, can I see pictures of the seat? Can I see pictures of the car? Like, how do we prevent it? And obviously that's our role moving forward, is to what can we learn from, any of these crashes, to how do we prevent them or try to minimize them in the future? And again, we're never going to take all of the, inherent danger out of racing. It's always going to be a dangerous sport, but we would be, foolish to not, obviously try to dig into every one of these crashes and try to evaluate what are some things that we can do, where can we grow as an industry to make it safer. So, there was a realm of both things from my perspective. We had success stories with guys that crashed incredibly bad that got out and were perfectly okay, and Justin Peck. And, the crash with Tyler Courtney, to me, there were so many cars that I had to watch it 15, 20 times and just focus on one car, every time I watched it to see exactly what happened. I think lost in all of it was Bill Balog's impact in that crash was incredibly violent. It really reminded me of Justin Peck's, where he went into the fence and the car stopped almost instantly. And, he jumps right out. And I don't think his crash got a lot of publicity over it because he was fine, which is great. But so obviously there were success stories from, guys in our stuff that were okay. But obviously in the same token, Tyler Courtney obviously getting injured. And, he texted me later that night, like, thanks for keeping me safe, as he's in the hospital and having to go through surgery. And so, those are hard things to hear for me as a manufacturer. Like, it's, you're grateful that they're thankful for the condition that they're in, but at the same token, it's like, how do we make this better? So, I guess I sort of related a little bit to, driving is, your wins are great. And but I feel the ones that you got away from you, those are the ones that keep you up at night and hurt, those are the ones that bother me more so than the wins. So, while we definitely felt like there was some success and some good things out of it, the ones that you feel like the guys did get hurt are the ones that bother you the most and make you want to come to work and learn from it and try to improve not only our products, but the sport in general.
Daryn, this is going to be probably a hard question to answer, but is there one part of our car or our sport that you really feel there needs to be improvement on? I know some guys are now putting some more bars overhead because the big opening, but you look at these wrecks and they were all different. And a lot of those were the after impacts of people hitting them, but it seems like how do you improve it? The car is what it is. I don't know. I'm just curious if there's one part of the car right now you think that there is something we could improve on that needs to be priority, maybe.
As far as the car goes, again, that's stuff that we're going to have to learn over the next couple of weeks or couple of months, as far as sort of, really getting some more information. The one that concerns me the most, and again, I'm not saying this with 100% certainty because we haven't dug into this a ton, but Tyler Courtney's injury, for instance, obviously his is probably the most prevalent. As far as he's the one that had to have surgery. He's going to be out probably the longest. And it does seem, from what I've gathered and what I've heard, is that it's similar to his injury a couple years ago at Eldora, coincidentally again, where it's they're not compression fractures. They're impacts that are so big that basically it is a whiplash fracture. So like his body is going forwards with such velocity that it's compressing and fracturing his vertebrae. And it's not a landing on the bottom frame rails compression. There's obviously belt stretch and there's a lot of things that go into these impacts, but I mean, his was apparently just so violent. And so I don't know, that's a head and neck restraint. That's a belt, elongation thing. So there's a lot of factors I don't think that we know the answer to. And those seem to be the most concerning as far as these back injuries that we keep getting, and what is the best way to prevent them. And so obviously our bodies because we sit in 10-degree seats, we sit very upright. Any impact where the frame rails come down and contact the ground, it's very quick for that to go through your spine. And, it doesn't appear that these were this was the situation for Tyler. Again, I'm not speaking this as gospel that this is 100%. I mean, there's a lot that still needs to go through it. But what information that I've gotten from him and some other guys is that his injury is obviously similar to what hurt him a couple of years ago. Obviously, I think this one's just a little bit worse. He had, I think, a compression of a couple of vertebrae before. This one was obviously just a little more violent. So, as far as the car goes, man, I don't have anything straight off the top of my head. Like, there's no obvious answer of, man, we got to add this or add that. Every bar we add makes the cars more rigid. You do have to have things that are absorbing impact. You can't just make the cars where they're so stiff that, then the body is absorbing all of that. So it's definitely not an easy answer, but something that hopefully we can dig into and at least try to learn something to improve to try to minimize these in the future. But again, it was definitely a tough weekend to watch and to see, how many of them just the single car crashes, Justin Peck, Casey Kane, there were several that were just by themselves that were just violent impacts, from beginning to end.
Yeah, Logan Schuchart had one that just stands out right at the end of the race. Oh my gosh. What struck me, Daryn, and again, this is very novice eyes, but we had multiple times where cars had abrupt stops. And that just, and you talked about Bill Balog's car, and I honestly was so focused on Tyler Courtney's car, I never saw it, but there was a couple others where the car just literally stopped right in place. And it's like, man, that is not only concerning for the car stopping and what that does, but then the reaction time of everyone behind the driver as well. And that just struck me as interesting about some of them as well.
It is so difficult to try to figure out what do we need to improve when every crash is different. I've seen people get hurt the worst in crashes that you think they should get right out and they don't look bad. And then others that look incredibly violent, they get right out. I mean, I checked on Justin Peck after his crash because watching it, I mean, my stomach was in knots just watching it because that car came to a stop instantly. And I mean, his response to me was like, I'm good. I didn't hit my head. It must have looked worse than it felt. And I've had those. So I've had some crashes that everybody's like, man, that looked terrible. And you're like, man, I didn't feel anything. Like it actually, everything did its job. And, sometimes the ones that look the worst don't feel as bad. And others that, they don't look that bad. You don't understand how they could possibly hurt that bad. Logan's obviously, I think, looked really bad. And obviously we're capable of, or, obviously the potential of getting hurt in any crash is there. But as I was watching it, it didn't scare me as much as a lot of the others, because a lot of times as the car is moving and flipping, it's absorbing energy, and which is typically keeping it off of the driver. That's not to minimize his crash. Obviously, it looked very bad. But again, there were others that when you watch them going 120, 130 miles into the corner and come to abrupt stops, that's just hard for anything. Nothing. The safety equipment doesn't have time to absorb when everything stops as quick as a lot of those crashes did.
Okay, so Erin asked you, are there things we can do with the cars and everything like this? Daryn, is there, in your opinion, are we having enough conversation? And I don't mean Daryn sitting in Texas or this one sitting here. Is there something in the industry, whether it's the World of Outlaws, whether it's Knoxville, whether it's High Limit or whoever it is, are these discussions being had, or is it still kind of a little independent? And what's your take on that? Are we discussing this enough or not?
Well, I mean, I don't think if I have a concern from a manufacturer standpoint and as a driver standpoint, I 100% have confidence that I can go to the Outlaws, Brad Sweet, Kyle Larson. Like I think, John McCoy's, the leaders of our industry, and they're going to listen. Okay. And I think any manufacturer would probably feel the same way. I definitely don't think that there is a blind eye being turned or no, there's nothing we can do. I mean, essentially, I still feel that our most inherent risk as a driver typically comes down to the facility that we are at, and the obstacles or the issues with certain racetracks as far as their fences or lack thereof or whatever. So that being said, Eldora is one of the safest places that we go to as far as, obviously put a ton of money into it. And I feel like most things are done right there. So it's not, again, as a driver, when you were traveling around the country, going to all these different places, I always felt like our cars were very safe, that the facilities were probably more of the percentage of the chances that things could go bad. I don't think that was the case at all this past weekend. But so I think that we, as a whole, as an industry, as a manufacturer, I feel like if I have a major concern, I know there's a meeting coming up at Knoxville between the Sprint Car Council, and that's when a lot of the guys will get together and can discuss discuss the things that they feel are important and things that we should improve on, and get some opinions from other, obviously, industry leaders as far as to, how do we fix that? How do we address those? And what are the most concerning things right now going forward? And how do we put those as a priority?
One other thing when you're talking about the facility, and Eldora, like you mentioned, is certainly one of the safest sprint car tracks that you go to. Tony had to put all that in just to get the NASCAR trucks there. And the catch fence is great. But the catch fence, I thought, was an interesting element this past weekend. It seemed like Tyler Courtney, a few of the cars, they hit the fencing came in and they hit the actual steel post, and two of them bent it. That to me, that's stopping that car abruptly. And again, I'm just more of an observation. What are your thoughts on that? It's almost like you see an Indy car go into a fence. It's just, it's a, you want the fence to keep them in the racetrack, but it's a, I don't know, catch 22.
Yeah, I mean, they've got the cables there. Obviously, the idea is that, the cables absorb the chain link to hold between the poles. There's so many fans there that you have to have poles. That's how you keep the chain link going. And you got to have the cable. It's, yes, the poles 100%. Like when you impact it, and I think this is just circumstance, when you impact that hard into a catch fence, some point, obviously, if you removed half the poles to allow the catch fence to basically expand more, I mean, eventually something's going to give. And then I'm not a catch fence designer. There's probably a reason why there's poles every whatever it is, 10, 12, 15, 20 feet. If you removed every other one, yes, would the chain link absorb more energy before you get to the next pole? But obviously, from a structural standpoint, there's a point where you're just going to go through it. Now you don't have enough structure there that's far into the racetrack. So that is definitely not my expertise, and so I would be foolish to try to diagnose that. And as much as we look at our products and how can we improve the things that happened in our cars with our stuff, I'd like to think that Tony and those guys are looking at their facility as well. I'm not saying they need to. I'm just saying that I would assume that if there's something that they can learn from those crashes, that they're going to implement that the best that they can moving forward.
Yeah. We had Tony on last week, and his passion for this stuff is just absolutely amazing. So I'm curious because I watched it. I had the same sort of thing that you did, Daryn. I was watching it as like Saturday night after Saturday night, I'm like, okay, I'm kind of glad this is over. I hate that we're in the spot we're in, but I'm kind of glad this is over because this has been about as much as I can handle. So really, really fascinating. So let's set aside all of the down talk about safety equipment and gear. Ultra Shield, how are things going with your business? You're a few years into this thing, and you're up and running. You're moved in. You're all settled in. Everything good down there?
Yeah, things are great. Love it down here in Texas. Yeah, we're 4.5 years into this, and truthfully, personally speaking, I couldn't be happier. Love what we do, love the products we build, just love the challenge every day of coming in and trying to make everything we do better. And obviously, it's easy to kind of get lost in a little bit of that, but you get weekends like this that basically remind you why we do what we do and why we should never stop trying to improve what we're doing. Again, I feel like I should always have the attitude that my stuff is not perfect, and that we should always be open to learning from whether or not that's something that happened last week or 6 months down the road. That our stuff should always be evolving, and there's always new technology and new things that we should learn to help improve the products that we build, and essentially try to keep all these drivers safe so that obviously they can go home to their wives and their kids and as many times as possible. So I love it. I love the role that we play in the industry. I'm honored by as many people that have chosen our brand in a short period of 4.5 years that, I feel like we've made a pretty decent mark and, in the industry as far as, bringing Ultra Shield to the forefront as far as to what a lot of the drivers are choosing. Excited about the stuff. Late model racing is a big thing that a new market that we've gotten into that's has been going really, really well. And, obviously we want to just keep expanding into different forms. And, I'm learning a lot about those. I know about sprint cars and midgets and micros, and I understand all that side of it. So it's been fun to learn about other disciplines of racing that I haven't known a lot about, trying to learn what do they want, what do they look for, and how can we service that industry better.
Yeah, that's awesome. Speaking of family, how are the girls doing? How's Mandy?
I'm afraid to ask, how old are the girls now, Daryn?
So I had to go home for about 30 minutes earlier this morning because my daughter is so both of my girls and my mom are driving to San Antonio to see my brother and his two girls for a week. But they are taking Taylor's car and Taylor is driving. So this is her first 5-hour road trip. Now, yes,
My gosh.
my mom along with her, but as a dad, it's still nerve-wracking to send your kid out on the road with obviously our youngest. So Katie is 10 and Taylor's 16. She's been driving since March, and she does a great job. But I will say that as a dad, letting your daughter pull out of the driveway for the first time by herself was something I was not prepared for, or ignored for far too long, and didn't realize how that is definitely, it's a step that once they do it once, I mean, it's not stopping anymore. So it definitely has been an eye opener, and she does a good job, but obviously there's a lot of inherent danger that goes along with that.
Yeah, it's not her. Sometimes it's the other people.
Yeah.
Do you have an ultra shield seat in her car? I feel like do a little modification on her street car.
Yeah, absolutely. I probably should, but you're exactly right. That's what I told her. It's not that I don't trust her. It's you've got to always be looking out for everybody else, because you've got to be looking for other people's mistakes, because it's going to happen. So, but no, they're doing great. Again, they're enjoying their summer, and so Taylor will be a junior this year. So yeah, she's only got 2 years left in high school, and Katie's going into 5th grade this year. So they're both excited to go to Knoxville next week. We'll go and run the 360 Nationals and stay for the 410. And so they always enjoy going for that, and I think they're ready to go and watch me race a little bit as well.
Cool. What are you driving in Knoxville with 360s?
Yeah, so running for Dave Lunstra in the 3 car. So I was able to run the car twice earlier this year in the spring. Got rained out half the time as well. But yeah, so the 360 was not part of our plans, but we weren't as good as we felt like we needed to be earlier this year. We've actually hired Lee Stauffer to come on board and work for us at the Nationals. So I'm pretty excited to get the chance to work with him. I've known him for a long time, never got the chance to work with him. And so we added the 360 just to try to get some more laps and just try to give ourselves the best chance for success, obviously on the 410 week as well. So we'll start next Friday night with the 360, run the Cappy, possibly run Monday at the Front Row Challenge, and then just kind of get geared up for the 410 Nationals.
Oh, Lethal Lee, man! Oh man, that's a good combination. That is for sure. I'm pumped. I'm actually doing the 360 Nationals, the Cappy, and Oskaloosa. I'm not going to stay for the 410 Nationals, but I'm actually going to do the 360 because we're in Iowa racing that weekend with the NASCAR Cup Series. So fun stuff. Yeah, going to be awesome. Daryn, it is always a pleasure. We can't wait to watch you in that 69K this weekend. We always appreciate your insight. It was an appropriate time to talk to you this week after what we saw last week, and we appreciate your insight, your views on all of this, and just always appreciate the visits. Thanks for the time.
No problem. Thanks for having me on, guys. Look forward to seeing you guys next week.
There we go. Daryn Pittman joining us here on the program. Stay with us. More Wing Nation in just a moment.
3, 2, 1, start your engine.
The NASCAR channel is streaming now, exclusively on Tubi. Go deeper into NASCAR with 24/7 news, documentaries, and explore the vault of timeless NASCAR stories and unforgettable races. From crushing defeats to the thrill of victory. The NASCAR channel, always on, always free. Only on Tubi.
Welcome back. It is Wing Nation. Man, oh man, a lot to unpack talking with Daryn Pittman, but that's always the way it was with Daryn, isn't it? It's always been that way. Always great conversation.
Always. And he's so insightful, and he's so well-spoken, and he's so aware of the safety industry, not obviously as just a driver, but now he's making product. So it's always great to catch up with him.
I always think about, oh my gosh, when I think of Daryn Pittman, I think about, and you remember this, we did that 5K race in Jackson. Okay, where we had to run down the street. No kidding, the street.
Ashley Street.
Ashley Street, exactly. This is like a 5K. A 5K is only 3.1 miles. Ashley Street is 8 miles of the 3.1. Okay, this hill would not end. So
the downhill was great.
Well, yeah, I had gravity on my side, and 2/10 of a
It
ton
was
here.
about 2 miles down and 8 miles up.
Yes, it was exactly. But I'll never forget. You know, and I'm a slow runner. I apologize to nobody.
Hey, you're out there, yeah.
Exactly. I have no issue with who I am and that sort of thing. They take off, everyone goes, Daryn's in the race, you're in the race, I know you're going to be gone and that sort of thing. I literally am at the bottom of Ashley Street and it's an out and back run. And I look up and Daryn is just flying right back at me. I'm like, he obviously cut the course. There's no way he's that fast. I mean, the guy's a beast.
Yeah.
Like literally we got done and he'd finished, he went, he took a shower, he had lunch, and then he'd come out and watch me cross the finish line. I mean, I always think about that with Daryn. He is just, man, I could not believe how fast he was in that 5K.
He was so, he was like, oh, I haven't run in a few months.
I haven't run in a few months. Oh my God. I love, we talked a little about this during the break in between this. I love that we still talk to Daryn because he has so much insight and we can still talk to him as a present driver.
Yeah.
You know, be really fun later this year if we talk to him as a National Open champion. Wouldn't that be pretty cool?
I always think back to racing with him, and Mandy was always a huge supporter. Just a great family, great kids.
Nice stuff. That's for sure. Let's talk a little bit about more about Eldora, and I think we've covered the downside of it, the crashes, and we certainly wish everyone well on the recoveries. Oh my gosh, the various levels. King Anthony the 42nd. I'm telling you, the kid was rolling on Saturday night, wasn't he?
He was rolling, and he was close to that fence all night, and it was an impressive drive. 40 laps. You know, you have Rico and Kyle Larson right behind you. I was very impressed that he kept that composure for all 40 laps.
You have those two behind you along with everyone else.
Yeah, never mind the rest of them.
You have a fuel stop, a red flag. You have, you know, when Paul Silva puts his magic on a car and Ricky Warner puts his magic on his car, you're racing for second. No, because Joe Mooney put his magic on Anthony's car. And I just think the story, and then Anthony, it's obviously been an interesting journey, and months ago, and you can go back and look at this up on YouTube, he joined us to talk a little bit about his journey, and 2 years ago where he was at when he left the family team. And to me, this is a story on forgiveness, redemption, all of those big picture things that families sometimes have to go through, and to be able to have the family in victory lane at the King's Royal was pretty cool.
Yeah, and his victory lane interview, you know, Anthony's not always one with a lot of words, but he was emotional. He had tears in his eyes. Like, to me as a fan, I can always appreciate when someone is showing such genuine emotion in victory lane.
Third Pennsylvania driver to win. He had Don Kreitz Jr., which I thought was interesting that Don was the sovereign. Don won it in 86 and Brett Marks won it in 2022. Ninth win of 2025. I remember he won the World of Outlaws, Morgan Cup earlier this year. So, and the Outlaws are rolling back in there again. And can you imagine the reception on Friday night?
Oh,
on Wednesday night at BAPS.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm telling you, Anthony, stock up the t-shirt trailer. Stock up the t-shirt trailer. You don't know what's getting ready to happen when you roll in there as a King's Royal champion. We haven't had, Brenda's always done a good job with t-shirts. When Don Kreitz was doing it, that was 86. We've not had this scenario before. Yeah. So those printing presses better be rolling on those t-shirts when you roll into BAPS and to Williams Grove this weekend. I don't even know what to make of Kyle Larson and David Gravel. I don't even know what to make of that, Erin.
And I don't think I know enough to make an opinion.
No, there's obviously a lot. There's
all of it. Yeah, it was a little uncomfortable.
It was another element, a different element of uncomfortable over the weekend. Like the injuries were one element, but that is like, what is going on here?
Like two of the best, two of the most professional. Like, it just felt weird.
Yeah, two guys that we don't normally see rolling around in mud.
Yeah, and even bringing it to social media, I don't know. It
just was weird. It just was. I mean, the whole thing. I don't even know what to make.
I'm waiting for you to have some.
No, I don't have really I don't because it was just like, huh?
Yeah.
Gravel, Larson. I mean, huh?
That's where I'm like, maybe I don't know.
No, there's obviously stuff we don't know.
Yeah.
Because this just doesn't make much sense.
Up.
Okay. Out west, they had the Howard Kading Classic. The first Howard Kading Classic without HK there. I just I remember I went out there a few years ago, and oh my gosh, just the whole the King of the West does such a great job of honoring their icons, and they honor living ones and now become tribute races to those who have passed. And HK out there that weekend was like, you want to talk about royalty, the sovereign. I mean, he was like, he could go anywhere on his bike he wanted to go. He could have led the first 5 laps of the A main on that bike, and they'd have let him. I mean, I just think that's cool. Justin Sanders picked up the win. It was his 3rd win of the Howard Kading Classic, and he talked a little bit about how much it meant to win the 2 with Howard was there, but how special it was to win the first one when Howard wasn't there. And so good on you, Justin Sanders. Just the respect. I think that's cool.
Yeah.
It's one that hits me because I was out there one year and got a chance to meet HK at the performance shop, and we went over and he showed me around the little house next door that had all of their stuff in it, and just what an amazing family. It really, truly is. National Sprint Car Hall of Fame birthday calendar yesterday. Our buddy Shane Carson's birthday yesterday. Yes, Louis Meyer, Bill Hill later this week, Bruce Craig, Rich Vogler, Doug Wolfgang, Brad Doty has a birthday coming up.
Wow, some of my favorites.
Yes, Rich Vogler, 35 years ago, yesterday, the 21st is when he passed. 35 years ago.
I
Erin,
remember where I was when it happened.
I remember where I was too. And I remember what the weekend was. The weekend was Pocono weekend. I was writing for Gator Racing News out of Syracuse, New York.
Yeah.
Okay. Saturday afternoon, practice was over. And I went over and I wanted to do a story on Rich Vogler. Walked up there and he said, I'm headed to Indiana. Come back first thing in the morning and we'll talk first thing in the morning.
They were pitted next to him that weekend.
That's right.
Garage.
Yeah, come back tomorrow morning and we'll chat tomorrow morning and that sort of thing.
Oh.
So I go home and I'm,
Oh, yeah. I was at the Quarter Midget Nationals in Syracuse, New York.
Were you really?
Yep.
Man. That's just like, wow.
Yeah, I was a huge Vogler fan. We used to watch Thursday Night Thunder. And
yeah, we did a 5 Mile Point Speedway in Binghamton, New York. One of my very first gigs. They did the USAC versus NEMA versus ARDC midgets. A guy named Bob Daly from, I think, Long Island put this thing together. And USAC had a very aggressive marketing program where they would send in a driver, an advanced driver, to do media for you going into the weekend. The first year they sent in Rich Vogler. I got to drive Rich around to different TV stations and radio stations. It was cool. The second year, I think we had Tom Bigelow. And the third year, we had Gary Bettenhausen.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, holy cow. I mean, of course, I'm a kid, so I don't know anything. Now I'm sitting here saying, man, I wish I knew now. I wish I knew then what I know now. I wish exactly. Unreal. So, but Rich Vogler's birthday would be Saturday. Erin, we don't have to wait long. Coming up racing tonight, the Don Martin Memorial Silver Cup at Lernerville. And this is where we did a little poll. I did a post on our first off, I want to thank everybody that played along with our Facebook group. Okay. And you know me, I'm very gun shy about putting a lot out there because I don't want it to evolve into Hosehead's forum. Okay. And I love Hosehead. The forum is sometimes gets it's still out there.
I had
no. But anyhow, I hate social media in that it evolves. So one of my rules is this is not a debate. State your point and leave. Let's not get into back and forth bickering. No. And first and foremost, I want to say to those of you that participated on that, thank you. The discussion was great. The discussion was phenomenal. It ranged from that's just the way it is. Suck it up. You want to be the best sprint car driver in the world? There's risk involved in it. And that's
I did read a bunch
of it. And I'm fine. I understand that. Some people ask about shocks, and I'm like, that's an interesting especially with the hole down there in turn number 1.
The frame rail.
Think about the shocks, okay? Some talked about wings. There was great discussion there. There really was. My problem with I have no issue with you want to be the best sprint car driver in America. You got to suck it up. There's inherent risk within that sort of thing. Tonight we're going to race at Lernerville, and the top 3 in high limits points are not going to be racing there. That's a problem. And I know there is inherent risk in this sport, but it's a problem when your top 3 drivers in points are not going to be at a race.
I agree. Too much.
So that's my argument with that, but we'll see what happens with it. it's going to be an awesome race. Lernerville
Oh,
is
love
always
Lernerville.
awesome. It really, truly is. So the Don Martin Memorial Silver Cup from Kubota High Limit is tonight. And then, Erin,
World of Outlaws. Big
man,
weekend.
oh man, batten down the hatches in central Pennsylvania. They're going to come into town and they're going to be dancing with the King's Royal Champion on the home turf on the porch.
You bet. The Beer Hill gang will be all ready.
Yep.
Wednesday, Baps Motor Speedway, the Brickers Bash.
Brickers Bash. Brickers Fries. Oh my God.
Wow, new record. You know, we
Yeah.
won a show recently where you didn't
Yeah.
mention food. Did you know that?
I know. Brickers Bash. Oh, they should name every race after a French fry. Oh my gosh.
Oh gosh. Moving on. Friday, Saturday night, Williams Grove, the 24th annual C&D Rigging Summer Nationals, 20,000 to win. And Sunday, they head up to my old stomping grounds at Weedsport.
Love it. Going to be a big weekend for the World of Outlaw NOS Energy Drink Sprint Cars, Midwest Series Touring, Midwest Sprint Touring Series. They have Thursday and Friday racing action at one of our favorite places, Jackson.
The old penalty box.
Yes, the old penalty box will be up and running with our man Jay will be there
Yep.
manning the ship. Rachel will be there, I am sure, just making sure everything is all buttoned up and ready to go.
Oh, you bet. IRA Friday and Saturday, Mississippi Thunder Speedway, and Sunday at Angel Park Speedway.
And Sealands Grove, God help Sealands Grove that they can get some nice weather for the Jack Gunn Memorial on Sunday. They've had a rough go of it there. I know there's been a lot of talk up there, and I know Sealands Grove has stepped on some toes with running Friday night sprint cars and everything else. Look, we need every racetrack to be racing, and Sealands Grove has had a rough go of it with the weather. So hopefully Sunday, the Jack Gunn Memorial goes off without a hitch. That's going to do it. Holy cow. Man, did we cover a lot of ground.
We did.
Yes. Great stuff with Daryn Pittman. Always love getting a chance to catch up with Daryn, and can't wait to see what happens this weekend at the Grove in that 69K car. I think we're at this World of Outlaw Pennsylvania posse ebb and flow. 2 years ago, I thought the Outlaws had the upper hand. I'm not 100% sure. I'm telling you who is looking awful good these days is Danny Dietrich.
Yes. Yeah.
Danny Dietrich is
Backbound.
Yes.
Yeah.
His poop is in one pile. It just he's
That's one way to say it.
yes, he could, I just think I love where Chase Deed's going out there. I mean, I know he got crashed and left Eldora, but he had a good. I just like where the posse is right now. It doesn't mean the Outlaws are going to come in there and get stomped, but I think we're back to an equal. I think we were 2 years ago. I think it was really World of Outlaws. You're like, come on, posse, step it up. Come on, I think the posse stepped it up now, and I think we're pretty even on this thing right now. So we'll see what happens. It's going to be a fun weekend, that is for sure. We're grateful for Daryn Pittman joining us here on the program, but more important than all of that, thank you for joining us this time here on Wing Nation on the Motor Racing Network.